idea how successful censorship is on TV? Don't know the answer? Successful, isn't it?
Welcome to the Prepared Mind channel, everybody. The SHTF, Talk Zone. We've been here over 10 years talking about shit hitting the fan, about the government failing, the courts and law enforcement failing us, Wall Street failing us. And we've been fighting, all of us. First off, we got prepared. We talked about what to do in an emergency situation, the world that you need to worry about if things get really bad, what we can do to fight in the system. We've done all these things, and now we're at this place. And this week, or rather the last several weeks, and even the last several months, I think we've all kind of come to a conclusion. At the very least, I know I have. And it's disheartening because I believe, like you, I want a world that is fair and moral and good. And we're not getting that. We truly aren't. So you're going to notice a theme on this show today. And I would like you to share it with everybody. If not the theme, share the video. And you're live with me now if you're at thepreparedmind.club. At the club, thepreparedmind.club. We have a premium access so you can be here live every day. It's just $2 a month. And that does a lot to support us. We get, a couple hundred people that come on every day, and it's just great. And we get to get your questions up through the week. But the theme for this show is that we all want a good place, a good world. Pardon me. We all want a moral, decent, honest world and to live, but there is no justice. Right now, if I speed, I get a speeding ticket. If I recklessly drive, I get arrested and have my license revoked. If I steal a car, I go to jail for a year. If I rob a bank, I go to jail for 10 years. If I murder someone, I go to jail for the rest of my life because I'm a white Christian male. The point is that the bigger the crime, the more justice has to step in and give a bigger punishment for us, regular people. But for the rest of the world, there is no justice. It was revealed that Johnson & Johnson, the lead scientist from Johnson & Johnson, got caught in an interview, confessed that their version of the Jim Jones juice, Johnson & Johnson, J&J's JJJ, right? That COVID VAXXX was, quote, not safe and effective. And that it suffered from a, quote, lack of research. I read into this story some more. And this person, I don't know if I don't want to use the term whistleblower because they're not saying that. They were just shooting their mouth off that, the American people wanted it, so we just gave it to them. That is the height of corporate arrogance. To assume that people demand something that could kill them, that could cause them heart problems, lung problems, cardiovascular problems, mental problems, neurological problems, cancer, turbo cancer, clots. Nobody wanted that. Nobody asked for that. So to say that, you wanted something, so we just gave it to you. We didn't ask for that, right? I didn't ask for any VAXXX. But people that were anticipated and hoped that whatever they got would have been confirmed safe and effective because of trials and solid research proving it was both safe and effective. but there's no justice in this world. So that lie that, well, you guys asked for it, so we just gave it to you. If someone said, we want an electric vehicle from Ford, and Ford created an electric Pinto. If everyone knows the Ford Pinto in the 70s, you rear-ended that car and it tended to catch on fire, right? Because the gas tank, it would leak and then catch on fire. That was really a common problem with that car. So if someone said, oh, we demand you give us an electric Pinto, Ford would be like, we ain't doing that because it's going to blow up and catch on fire, right? We're not going to put the batteries out where they can be damaged. But Johnson & Johnson, it's fine, huh? There's no justice. The Attorney General, Pam Bondi, the Food and Drug Administration will do nothing. And all the other responsible parties like, well, the Health and Human Services leader, the director, the big kahuna, RFK Jr. He's not going to do anything to Johnson & Johnson over this confession from a lead scientist. There's no justice. And that's not going to change for us, folks. I'm not trying to be Debbie Downer, but I want you to know where we stand, at least the conclusion that I have come to, that there is no justice. Now, today, President Trump made a big announcement that the scumbag, bug-eyed, pencil-necked, loathsome butt pirate senator, no longer congressman, now a senator, Adam Shifty Schiff. Trump says he's been caught, allegedly, committing mortgage fraud. But wait, Adam Schiff lied to Congress, and he got told, you're bad. You know, like I said, he's no longer in the House of Reps. Now he's a senator. But he lied and got away with it. He lied to the American people repeatedly and every day. If I go check out his posts, he's lying. He is lying. He was involved in the death, some say murder, of a young boy he was alleged to be raping at a hotel. And nothing will be done. So don't worry. Don't even think that justice needs to be served, because there is no justice. And Trump, in his attack on Senator Schiff, well, wait a minute. What about all the crimes that he's committed in addition to mortgage fraud that have to do with the alleged child sex abuse? Well, that's kind of like the Epstein thing. So we don't want to go there. Right? We don't want to talk about his fraud that he committed with respect to the Russia collusion hoax. How Adam Schiff was part and parcel of that. He was the front man and the mouthpiece for the deep state that was fighting President Trump. And he won't be held to account. There is no justice, folks. Get used to it. You know, I think you've probably caught on to the theme. Don't worry. We have no reason to worry about this stuff. Watch it like a television show. When the show's over and you turn the TV off and you go to bed, nothing will change in your life, because nothing is going to change in the government. There truly is no justice. Well, we looked to the president. We elected the president and said, we want this Epstein thing taken care of, along with a myriad of other items and issues. Right? We want justice. Now, Trump says we're going to send all the illegals out of the country. There's going to be a mass deportation that'll make your head spin. Everything was going to make our head spin. Right? One of the few names that I can remember at the moment, Locken Riley, was one of the big names, because an illegal murdered her. She fought for, I think, 18 minutes. She was murdered and raped by an illegal. Illegal farm workers have committed murder and rape. Illegal everybody's have committed murder and rape. and home invasion robbery and grand theft auto and assault. And Trump now says, we're going to give amnesty because we need farm workers and we need hotel workers and we need restaurant workers. Right? There's no justice. So then we go to the House of Representatives and say, look, Trump isn't giving us the justice we want. We need you guys in the House to do something. And I, along with you, have led the charge in writing, texting, calling, emailing, smoke signals, carrier pigeons, notes tied to an arrow and shot in their direction, telling the House, do something. You are called the House of Representatives because you're supposed to represent the people. Well, guess who blocked the Democrat effort to force the government to release information about the Epstein affair clients' files to the public? The people that led the block were the House Republicans, right? 5 different Republicans voted against transparency. There's no justice, folks. Now, having said that, some say that the way this was written, the government would have to release video of the children being attacked, raped, murdered, the pornography, pedophilia pornography. No, well, look, we know still photos from the videos of the perpetrators and not the children. That would have been enough. We don't have to have the videos, which would undoubtedly end up back out on the internet being passed around by these freaks. They could have done that. They could have passed it and said, this is information that needs to be out there, but it would be abused if we could have done something. But instead, don't worry. Still nothing. Our elected representatives won't do a damn thing to bring justice in this world. Justice for the sake of justice. Justice for the parents, the family and friends of these abused children. Justice for the children themselves. And a lot of people are like, well, why don't these people, right, these victims, why don't they come out and say something? Well, they have. And they have, and they have. And they are still doing it. In fact, they're still going in front of the media where they'll get some airtime. And they'll name places and times, but they're adults now. But 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, 25 years ago, they were small children, little girls. They don't know what that face is or who it belongs to. They just know they're being raped. So they can't name the fucking names. Now, Virginia Giuffre, who used to be Virginia Roberts, who is now dead because she was hit by a bus, almost died, and then was recovering miraculously, and then committed suicide. She was in her teens, and she named names, including Prince Andrew of England, son of King Charles, as well as others, right? She named names. But these others, they can't name names. But they say, this is what happened. These are the things that occurred. And no justice. From the president, the attorney general, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the Department of Justice in general, the House of Representatives, nothing. We know nothing, so get used to it, folks. There's going to be no justice. The fucking Democrats. Everywhere. Senators, House of Representatives, presidential candidates, presidential wannabe candidates. The media said, burn down America in 2020. Because one person appeared not to get justice. And that was St. George Floyd. Of course, they said there's a systemic problem with police, so all cops are bastards. right? And white people are racist, so fuck them all, right? It became a huge racial thing. They wanted justice. Well, they got an injustice, right? They threw Derek Chauvin in jail when the autopsy report said he had enough fucking fentanyl in him to kill a horse, St. George Floyd. I even asked Grok. I had a debate with Grok. And as far as I'm concerned, I won. I was like, well, how did he die? Well, he was being pinned by the officer for 9 minutes. I was like, but was he being arrested in a way that has killed anyone else? Well, I'm Grok. I ain't answering that shit. Here's a bunch of bullshit. I said, didn't he have fentanyl? Yes. Did he or did he not complain that he couldn't breathe before the police showed up, before the police arrested him, while the police were arresting him? Did he not resist arrest? All these things Grok admitted. But ultimately, the woke artificial intelligence computer wanted me to believe that George Floyd died because of a cop. I've even seen people, and it's fuck it doesn't matter. You guys believe what you believe. I'm not trying to convert anyone's thinking, but I do want to point out that they wanted that justice, right? That was enough injustice. We've got thousands of children who cannot speak for themselves. Not everyone who was victimized is alive. Many of them are killed or dead or sacrificed or fucking eaten. Who knows? What we do know is that the survivors all share the same story. And there's a face they do remember and recognize, two of them. That's Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein. But we aren't going to get our government to do a damn thing because there is no justice. None at all. I've got a picture. It's an old picture, 20 plus years. It's a picture of Jeffrey Epstein and a picture of Donald Trump and what is alleged to be a picture of Pam Bondi. All together. It's a very grainy picture, which would lead me to believe it was an actual picture because artificial intelligence doesn't make grainy, shitty looking pictures. It makes very clear pictures. Or it makes cartoon pictures. I don't know what to do with this picture. Do I put it the fuck up on here so you can see it? Right? Maybe I should do that. Let's have a little fun here. Let's see. Nope, that wasn't going to do it. Nope, that's not going to do it. Bear with me. All right, here we go. There we go. Look at that. Almost like I've used a computer before. Let's take a look at this one, shall we? There it is. Well, take a look at that. That's it. That's the picture, guys. Isn't that special? I don't know if that's real or not. What do you think? Looks like some highfalutin event. There's a guy back here. He's got a camera on over the left side of Trump's shoulder there, Trump's right shoulder. Looks like Pam Bondi. Looks like Jeffrey Epstein. It's a party. It's a big club, and you ain't in it. Let me continue. There is no justice. Senator Dick Durbin and his Judiciary Committee of Democrats have decided they're going to launch an attack on Trump's Third Circuit Court nominee, Emil Bove. Right? Yeah, the committee is set to vote. They're on the eve of the committee vote, and Durbin has come out and has decided to attack Emil Bove. Why? Right? Trump has gotten no appointments to the bench because why is it a Democrat on the Judiciary Committee in the Senate has authority to stop anything? Well, Dick, who has committed who knows what heinous acts against children. I'll say that again. Who knows? I'm not accusing him of anything. I have zero evidence. But who knows what heinous acts against children he's committed, right? Because he is Dick Durbin against revealing Epstein's clients also. Right? So he's against that real justice. And he doesn't want anyone placed in power who just might be a decent and just person. There has been a fight against this Emil Bove person, who I really don't know anything about. But I do know that the same level of hatred and ferocity and attack was leveled against Matt Gaetz when he was going to be appointed Attorney General. But then again, folks, I don't think there's going to be any justice for anyone. The reason I say that is because even Matt Gaetz came out on the media, and I am absolutely fucking disgusted with his words. And his words were that Pam Bondi is 10,000 times better than Bill Barr or anyone else Trump would have appointed to this position. I'm going to call that a paraphrase because I don't have his exact quote. But Uman, is that basically what he said? I think the number 10,000 times better than all the others. That is obscene. That is more than a gross exaggeration. That is a disgusting intellectual fallacy. That is fucking gaslighting. Like you can't, it is so obvious as to point out and go, Matt, why would you even fucking say that? Unless you were saying it tongue in cheek, like, yeah, she's 10,000, right? You have to do a total Rodney Dangerfield. Hey, she's 10,000 times better. Hey, no respect for her, huh? Right? We'd have to do something like that. He didn't. There's fucking no justice to be had in our government. So what do you think that portends? Uh-oh. We're having an man, I told you so moment. Yeah. See, this is what happens when we take one of these political figures and we idolize them. Literally, we make them a god of righteousness or a god of justice or a god of intelligence. What happens every single time? They let us down. They fail us. They fail themselves. They fail the test of morality, decency. There is nobody in government, nobody around that we can hold up and say, what a great person this is. Even the Trump apologists who say, we're not going to talk about this Epstein thing anymore. We're listening to the administration. We've gotten phone calls. We got a secret paycheck. We've been told, Trump has got this. He's got a plan. We've heard that, all of this, right? I made the call. One of these social media clowns says he called the White House. Really? That's even stupider than the White House called me and told me to shut up. Stop it. There's a bunch of social media influencers that are claiming the White House gave them a call and asked them to tone down their Epstein file rhetoric. Not believing it. Some low-level scumbag fucking called them up, probably wrote them a check. I don't know. In any event, folks, there's no decent person that has the guts and the fortitude to stand up to whatever powers that be. So now, man, when we say deep state, do you have any fucking doubt that it's a real entity, no matter how oddly shaped this fucking Leviathan is? It can reach into the judiciary. It can reach into the legislative branches. It controls and manipulates the media. And it can even reach in to the President of the United States and own them. There is no justice for the crimes that are being committed. The most heinous and disgusting crimes imaginable. There's no justice, folks, anywhere. Well, instead of facing his base, the voters, his base of support, the American people, Trump instead decided today to ignore Epstein and just distract the world instead. And he goes after and slams, quote, very low IQ AOC and Jasmine Crockett. He says, quote, I took my test, meaning a coherence competency test. I took my test. Now it's time for them to take a test, end quote. Well, half the people, all the mainstream media, and even the government that hates Trump are not going to force the issue. Thousands of raped children will be ignored and get no justice because it's too hard. I call bullshit on them. It's not too hard. You know what's amazing is, especially in the United States Army and especially in the United States Marine Corps, there are men who have been awarded the Congressional Medal of Honor. Usually it's posthumous. They were killed in action. But there's also the Navy Cross, which goes to Marines. There's the Silver Star, the Bronze Star. There are many medals that can be granted for valor, for bravery, for doing something amazing, amazingly difficult, amazingly risky, amazingly dangerous, that completed a mission, saved lives, won a battle. And these men that do these things, like I said, usually it's Army and Marine Corps, because they're doing it while being shot at, while being fucking bombed, while blown up, while riddled with bullets. Those are real men of action. That is real bravery, real strength, real integrity. And then you look at these spineless fucking wimps, men and women in office, judges, governors, the president, legislatures, the fucking bureaucracy. They're full of cowards, and none of them will do what needs to be done. I tell you, put any fucking combat soldier or Marine in a position of power and watch them fuck up the bad guys. Because it's not that we don't care. It's not that they don't care. It's just they know it's hard to do the right thing. It is. It's hard. But they lived it. And they'll do it again. Instead, we get no justice. None at all. There's no justice, folks. Lara Trump stepped up to the mic today, went on the media today, and says the Trump administration will, quote, set things right on the Epstein files. Folks, there's more transparency coming and more evidence coming soon. Soon, I tell you. More transparency. We've gotten zero transparency. We've gotten opaque, in-your-face fucking lies. There is zero transparency on it. So we're going to get more zero? Well, 2 times 0 is 0. We'll give you 10 times more transparency. Oh, 10 times 0 is still 0. I did well in math. Evidence. More evidence coming. 2 times 0 is 0. 10, 100 times more evidence. 100 times 0 is 0. None. Lara Trump says that the people, the voting base of Donald Trump is being heard. Of course they're being fucking heard. You're being heard. Me, Ooman, Jolene, everyone, we're all being heard. Guess what? We're being heard, but we're not being obeyed. We are not being served. All Lara Trump going on TV is doing is showing us a different face, but we're getting the same old lies, the same old bullshit. We have already been promised by dozens of people in politics, dozens of people in media, dozens of people in law enforcement. and justice has been pigeonholed and hidden, right? I think it's only Polk County, Florida, and a few law enforcement around the country at the federal level that have stopped pedophile networks. But never, I repeat, never have the super powerful and their networks been caught and arrested and prosecuted. Just low-level scum. I've caught a couple of judges in there, and there's some elected officials and mayors have been caught, but never any high level. Now, folks, while there are non-disclosure agreements, the royal family's been sued. JP Morgan has paid out hundreds of millions of dollars in settlement money, but we don't have names. We don't have the crime that was committed that they've admitted to. They settled out of court. Okay. And people go, well, then they're no good in court. I'm like, no, you don't understand. That's a civil suit. And they settled it without admitting guilt. They settled it with money. In a criminal case, if those same people were brought into a criminal court, meaning there's evidence, there's a prosecutor, they arrest them, they arraign them, and they set trial. That NDA agreement does nothing in a criminal court. It'd be like me agreeing with my brother that I'm going to hide his crimes, and he pays me $1, and I go, I'm sorry, court, I cannot testify against my brother and all of his friends who robbed banks because we have a non-disclosure agreement between me and them. Doesn't fucking work that way. But still, people are like, well, they have an NDA. They're untouchable. Bullshit. I believe the government should charge JP Morgan, as an example, with concealing and conspiracy to conceal felony crimes of pedophilia. Haul their ass into court and ask them what they're being accused of. And make them fucking reveal what they're being accused of, who it was, where, and other parties. Right? How many times have we seen the movie, the Death Wish style movies, where the good guy is going to go get justice? Justice. There's that fucking theme again. And the good guy, he goes out and he gets the first fucking person. And he beats the shit out of him and goes, who's your boss? And he keeps going to the next guy and the next guy and the next guy and the next guy to find out who the fuck the criminal is, the big guy. And he goes all the way to top and takes the bad guy out. Justice. Why doesn't the government do that? Why doesn't the government do that? Because they're fucking crooked. Now, there's this story in the Old Testament, right, about a messenger from the Almighty comes down and talks to a dude, right, a godly person. And I think the angel says, look, you show me 10 men that are decent in this city, Sodom and Gomorrah, right? I think it was Sodom. Show me 10 men that are decent, and God won't destroy this town. Well, the angel comes back, and the guy's like, dude, I couldn't find 10 people. Basically whittled it down to, show me one. Give me one good person. Can't do it. That's Washington, D.C. That's our criminal justice system. That's our court system. That's our legislative systems. That's our executive positions. Nobody, there's not one good fucking person. So you know what it really does come down to, in my opinion? I think only the military could fix things now. Meaning, if there was a revolution of the people joined by the military to overthrow these fucking scumbags, that might work. Otherwise, I'm not seeing justice coming from anywhere. I mean, get this. Folks, there's no justice, and I know I've gone long. But a U.S. representative from the House of Representatives, his name is Salud Carbajal. He participated with a mob to attack immigrations and customs enforcement when they were arresting illegals at the marijuana farm. Salud Carbajal shows up and engages in a violent attack. And then it turns out he's a fucking illegal, and he likely came into the United States of America illegally himself. And he refuses to give evidence of proof that he's an American citizen, that he's been naturalized. He won't give it. And guess what? There's no justice, and he will not be forced to provide the proof. The government will not provide proof of it. He will not be kicked out of the country. He won't be kicked out of Congress. He won't get in any trouble. But you run a stop sign and it's your ass. Right? This is where we're at. This is exactly where we're at, folks. There's no justice. I'm going to go one more time to an alleged super smart, awesome crime and justice guy, the FBI director himself, Kash Patel. And you know what? He has called this a grand criminal conspiracy. And he's launching a probe into it. His targets are James Comey, Clapper, Brennan, Obama, a former president, former director of the FBI, and 2 CIA stooge assholes. High level. And he's calling this a grand criminal conspiracy. And he's going to go after him. And he's launched this investigation. No, wait. A probe. You know what else does a probe? An alien. They show up at your house and they probe your ass. Well, a fucking probe? How about an investigation? How about you have grand jury evidence and approval to arrest them? This coming from Kash Patel is just another lie, and like Lara Trump, it's another distraction. It's to make us think that justice still exists and that it's somewhere out there and that it's happening. And I'm going to tell you it's not. Nothing is going to go anywhere in any of this. If you can't get the most obvious crimes, election interference, vote fraud, if they can't fix that, if they won't address that, what makes us think they're going to go after the power brokers? Now, if I'm wrong, I will write my words down and I will eat them literally. But I do not believe I'm wrong because there is no evidence that justice is going to happen. How many crimes does Hillary Clinton have to commit? How many crimes does the U.S. government have to commit? It's absolutely disgusting. All right, Mr. Uman, let's do this. Let's go to you guys out there, the audience, and see what you want to discuss. Here we are. We're back. And before we get into the first comment question, you know, there's a reason that when there's a revolution in a country, it's usually a military coup d'etat. Right? The military generals usually step up and they slap down the current national administrator or dictator because they're just so fucking corrupt. But then, you know, depending on the quality of that military, size of the country, etc., often they're left in a position where they don't have any real leadership at all. And maybe it's because they can't replace them. They can't find anyone that's fucking decent. Now, again, down in the country of El Salvador, President Bukele was elected by the people to come in and fix the country. And what did he do? Well, he opened up the prisons. He threw out the worthless fucking judges. He brought in people who would uphold the law and make justice happen. And they started throwing the fucking criminals into the prison. There was a deterrent for crime. And it was more than just MS-13, folks. All criminals. When El Salvador, compared to the United States, is a tiny little country. But it's got a huge prison population that is locked up for fucking ever. And you know what they're doing? They're having to farm. They're farming for their own food. They're manufacturing. They're making clothing. They're being forced to be productive as reparations for their crimes. There's no good times. There's no hanging out in the exercise yard. They're just fucking prisoners being punished for their heinous crimes. It can be done, and it just takes one good person. I know General Flynn is highly respected. I know General Flynn is saying release the Epstein documents. If there's going to be a military coup in this country, I wouldn't know the first fucking thing about it. If I heard it was happening, I'd be scared to death because it's never happened in this country before. But I could see how someone with authority and morality and the troops behind them would consider it. But that is a very uncertain way to get very uncertain results. So I'm not calling for it. In any event, Mr. Uman, what topics are we going to address from the audience? Uman X says, we're being heard and being told to shut up. Yeah, isn't that incredible? President Trump says we're ungrateful. Now, one of the arguments is President Trump was shot. Therefore, we need to give him everything he wants. No. Sorry. You do not get to run the country the way you want and ignore the screams and cries for justice because someone shot at you or you were shot. I've been shot at. I've been hit with ricochets. I've been stabbed. I've been beat, kicked, punched, dragged, run over. That sounds like I got a little more damage done to me than Trump has. Why don't we do what I want to do? What about other soldiers and Marines who have been shot at, shot up, shot to shit? And if they're not dead, they're fucking maimed and missing limbs. That's a fucking terrible way to excuse your lack of injustice, or your lack of justice, rather, by going, well, I was shot at, so you're going to do as I fucking say. No, we're ungrateful. Shut up, be quiet, knock it off, right? No. Yeah, we're being heard, folks, and it's having an effect. So much so that they continue to lie. Well, there's no file. It never existed. Well, there's files, but it was made up by Obama and Brennan and these bad guys, Comey. Yeah, they made that shit up. Okay, well, if it's a lie, give us the fucking list. Let us see it. Tell us. Give us the list and go, here you go. But remember, this was made up by Obama and Brennan and Clapper and Comey and Hillary and whoever the fuck else they're claiming made it up. And if they made up that list, drag their asses in court for libel. Right? Writing a lie and publishing it with the intent to besmirch others is exactly what Trump is saying they did. So every millionaire, billionaire, big shot, politician, judge, foreign government official, they can sue the fuck out of them. Let them go sue the fuck out of Obama and Brennan and Clapper and Comey and Hillary and Bill and Eric and every other scumbag out there. Right? Instead, we're being told to shut up. Yeah, fuck them. Thank you, Mr. Uman. That was great. When there's no justice, folks, when there's no law and order, when you can't keep the people at the top in line, if there's no penalty for them committing the smallest of crimes or the biggest of crimes, you no longer have a country. We don't even qualify as a banana fucking republic anymore. You know why? Because a banana republic had the semblance of law and order, truth and justice. They have a semblance of it. There is no longer a fucking semblance, is there? Because nobody's held to account. Nobody. At least in countries like fucking Venezuela or Colombia or Panama, El Salvador, right? Name the Argentina, Brazil, other countries, there's a semblance of law and order. Someone's getting arrested, oftentimes for political reasons. Their political opponents are arrested, kind of like Trump was arrested, right? Someone's getting arrested at the highest levels, damn it. We don't even have that. We have a fucking bullshit plastic banana good time rock and roll mini series called the U.S. government. But don't worry. Someone will show up at your house with a gun if you don't pay your fucking taxes. Do Stuff with Nikki says, funny, I was watching Valuetainment podcast this AM. I don't even know what that is. They brought up an interesting thing, just how wheat. I don't understand that one, Uman.
Quiet.
How quiet. Ah, thank you. Just how quiet. Just how quiet the Clintons and Obama, etc., are since this fudge up. That's very nice language, doing the fudge. And the Clintons actually did supposedly tell the Supreme Court of the United States not to let Maxwell here into Congress to open her mouth. Basically, that's been reported, that they're saying, Supreme Court, do not bring Maxwell in to testify. The same way other government officials said, no, we're not going to let Jizzing Maxwell come to Congress. We don't want to hear the truth. Right? They don't want anyone talking. They don't want anyone talking. You see, the more people that talk, guess what? Those people have to be bribed and told to shut up, or paid off and told to shut up, or executed Clintonista style, Arkansas-ed. You see, the more people like Virginia Gueffer or Virginia Roberts, which was her maiden name, the more of them speak up and then get killed, the more suspicious the Clintons look, the more suspicious the Obamas look, the more suspicious everyone looks. Fascinating, is it not? But there's no justice anyway. So yeah, the Clintons will not sit back, nor the Obamas, nor anyone else, and say, yeah, go ahead and talk all you want. Have all the meetings you want. Release all the names you want, because nothing's going to happen. What they're afraid of is this information coming out. These witnesses, Jizzy Maxwell, the list coming out, and the people becoming even louder, even more demanding, to the point of recklessness on the street. Outrage so big that they have to do something, or they're going to have a revolution on their hands. And that's what they don't want. So that's why, yeah, the Clintons, the Obamas, and everyone will tell the Supreme Court of the United States, don't you fucking do it. Now, trust me, if you will. There's a man on the Supreme Court. He is the Chief Justice, John Roberts, has an immense amount of influence and authority over the other Supreme Court justices, as well as influence and authority over the federal judiciary branch, the federal court system. He already demonstrated that he is completely, absolutely, totally fucking controlled. When Obama did his Obamacare thing, and instead of ruling it an unconstitutional power grab by the federal government that's going to tell people they must buy something that there's no authority for them to tell them that they must buy, yet instead he called it a tax. And even that tax is a violation of our constitutional rights. Justice John Roberts is a sellout, chicken shit, compromised asshole. Period. So yeah, they will listen. The justices will, won't they? And Congress will listen, won't they? It's because they're controlled. And it is so blatantly obvious who Jeffrey Epstein worked for, who his associates were, where his money came from, who his friends were, who his allies were. It's so much in everyone's face, even Tucker Carlson, once a lauded mainstream media representative to the world. Now, folks, he's freelance, and fortunately for us, he's continuing to talk. He says, yeah, Israel. Israel is the group. Israel is pulling the strings. Israel is part of the control. AIPAC, the America-Israeli Political Action Committee. Oh, I shouldn't be saying this. Ehud Barak seen numerous times visiting Jeffrey Epstein in New York. That's funny. That's interesting. How about that? Bill Clinton, how many? 26 fucking times? How many times has Hillary been to Jeffrey Epstein's island? You bet they're going to tell everyone to shut up because they don't want enough coming out that we all get mad and it gets further. Mr. Uman, let's have some fun. Who's next? Woo! We got chin music. He says, Orange Cheeto. Orange Cheeto called us ungrateful and can't understand why we are still talking about Epstein. Didn't kill himself. I'm really wondering what the fuck is going on. A society that doesn't protect children, kids, can't survive. I agree with you 100%. You see, if anybody abuses animals, you go to jail, right? For cruelty to animals. Dogs, cats, horses. You go to jail. There's a specific way you have to kill livestock for food. Otherwise, it's cruelty to animals and you go to jail. How much more cruel is it? How much more criminal is it? How much more offensive to the senses of everyone for those who attack the weakest amongst us and the least capable of protecting themselves? Children. These people are so fucking disgusting. And if they're parents themselves, then it's even worse. Because when you create a life, a baby, and you hold it, you realize how vulnerable they are and how it's up to you to protect them. And that's why mothers and fathers will do anything to protect their children. That's why soldiers and Marines and airmen and sailors will do anything to protect this country. Parents protect children, and the military protects this country. The good members. There's a lot of fucked up communist America haters out there in the military, and they need to be kicked the fuck out. But they're willing because we understand that civilians, regular people are vulnerable. The country is vulnerable, and we need a protective class. And elected representatives and officials, judges and police, prosecutors were supposed to be part of that. And they're not willing to protect children. Unbelievable. They're certainly not willing to protect the country, as demonstrated by their decisions and their lack of action. Ooh, man, who's up next on the Prepared Mind channel? We got Badass Diving Frog. He said, John, didn't Hitler tell the people they were ungrateful and not deserving of justice or victory? What the fuck is this man's problem? Sounds like he's protecting his own ass. I don't know if Hitler told his own people they were ungrateful and that they weren't deserving of justice or victory. I don't know about that. But when you ask what the fuck is this man's problem, Trump sounds like he's protecting his own ass. Yes, weeks ago, I asked the questions and I explored the concept of why is Trump not willing to be the hero that he should be, that he appeared to be. He took a bullet for America. He ran for president anyways. We thought he had hero status and hero qualities, and he didn't, unfortunately, sadly, tragically. It looks like he's covering his own ass, his family. Why? Is our country being held hostage with nuclear threats? Or is it that everyone in government is so compromised that the deep state, Israel, MI6, again, right? The secret police of the world, the intelligence services of the world, love controlling governments, and they control the government of the United States in Washington, D.C. They've got them on a fucking leash, and they've got them on with shock collars, and they'll do whatever it takes to keep them in line, including murder them and their families. That's the best I can come up with for why nobody is willing to step up and do what is necessary. I tell you what, I'd love to see fucking the Army and the Marine Corps just take these people out. The same way they took out, whenever they could, the Taliban. Whenever they could, they took out what? The enemy, the fucking Viet Cong, the Nazis. Whoever they went after, folks, the U.S. military kicks the shit out of them. And these people are such a bunch of soft, chicken shit, slow-moving, slow-witted pussies that they could have their asses kicked and arrest them and just be done with them. Same with people like Bill Gates, Dr. Fauci, and other what I consider to be war criminals, international criminals, like the George Soroses, the World Economic Forum types, where they sit around in their days, their high chairs, and tell everyone in the audience how they love being corrupt and abusive and take advantage of people's ignorance and powerlessness. They're scum. Uman says, that's what happens when you make someone a hero before they do hero stuff. Well, let me just say this. I never thought of Trump as a hero. I thought he was courageous and brave for standing up after being shot. You know, in hindsight, you can look at that and go, he was told he was going to be the president. He was told they were going to shoot in his direction, but he didn't actually think they were going to fucking shoot him, right? In other words, participating in a sham assassination attempt and finding out you almost actually got fucking, taken out. Kind of like the patsies that do these shooting things thinking they're going to get what? A fucking vacation on a desert island somewhere, drinking pina coladas, sitting under a palm tree the rest of their life. No, they just get shot. All right. Yep. Thank you again, Mr. Uman, for making me feel a little bit silly. I know you're not trying to make me silly. I don't feel silly, but yeah, the hero status. Everyone afforded him hero status before he did the hero stuff. Let's see what other lack of justice we have. Ah, here it is. Oh my gosh. They had this guy dead to rights. A lunatic madman puts a rubber mask on, shows up at the house of elected representatives in the state of Minnesota and assassinates them in cold blood. Injures and assassinates. The police were right there even. They're part of it. It's a huge fucking conspiracy. And the man gets captured and then says, the governor, former vice presidential candidate, Twinkle Toes, Tim Walz, who he worked for, paid him, asked him, wanted him to make these assassinations. No, wanted him to assassinate a U.S. Senator, Amy Klobuchar, or whatever the fuck her name is. another socialist, so he could run for her seat. And it just went away. It just left the headlines. It left, there's no news. Tim Walz, silent. Everything's just forget about it. There's no justice. There's no justice for the State House Speaker, Melissa Hortman, and her husband. Dead, murdered, Tim Walz involved. Where are you, Pam, Cash, and Dan? And oh, yes, Dan Bongino came back to work. He had a little talking to, and he's just fine now. He's going to go back to being a puppet, a stooge, a rat, and a sellout. Unless he wants to do the hero things first. Right? Everyone gave him hero status for talking, just like Cash got hero status for talking, just like Pam Bondi got hero status for talking, and they did jack shit. Okay, Dan, round 2, buddy. You going to do something? I will not hold my breath. Ooh, man, thank you, sir. And I want to thank everyone in the audience for your great support of the channel, the message, and the need to be prepared. Wake others up. Share this video. Semper Fi means always faithful. And I am behind the military, the real heroes who do what's right, even when there's no medals or awards, when nobody's looking. They do it because it's the right thing to do. Be the heroes we need you to be.